So Ryan Reynolds obviously has to be deported back to. The moral crimes committed here by Ryan Reynolds against Justin Baldoni have amounted to high treason.
I just can't imagine what it feels like to be told that you got to leave your home, let alone with 15 minutes notice. You know, we were just feeling a tremendous amount of empathy for the displaced families in Ukraine.
Ryan Reynolds spent decades building the ultimate good guy reputation. He was the endlessly generous star who always had a witty quip, the celebrity who never forgot his humble roots, and the Canadian sweetheart who donated millions to refugees in crisis. For years, it seemed no scandal could ever touch him. He was simply too beloved, too earnest, too perfect. But everything changed when his wife, Blake Lively, filed a devastating lawsuit against her own director, Justin Baldoni. What started as a clash between two Hollywood professionals soon morphed into a legal free-for-all, with Reynolds at the eye of the storm. Suddenly, the man everyone viewed as a paragon of integrity found himself accused of shady backdoor deals, sabotage, and manipulation. The shocking part? All these allegations came from someone who once considered Ryan a hero. Could the unstoppable Ryan Reynolds brand be crumbling before our very eyes? And if the rumors are true, if he really pulled the strings in this vicious feud, then everything we once admired about him might have been one elaborate performance. Buckle up. The revelations go deeper than you'd ever imagine, and the casualties might be far greater than just one director's career. Before the lawsuits and rumors, Ryan Reynolds' story read like a classic underdog narrative. As a teenager, he got his start on a soap opera, parlaying that early exposure into comedic roles in offbeat films and sitcoms. Hollywood gradually recognized his quick wit and deadpan timing, showcasing him in bigger, crowd-pleasing projects. Audiences adored how easygoing he seemed, the sort of star who'd jump into a random interview to poke fun at himself or crack jokes about everyday life. Then came Deadpool, the blockbuster role that catapulted Reynolds into pop culture immortality. That film's rebellious humor meshed flawlessly with his natural comedic spark, transforming him into a phenomenon. Suddenly, interviews were peppered with stories of his philanthropic efforts. He and his wife gave large donations to charitable organizations. They personally assisted struggling communities, and they championed small businesses. At a time when cynicism often reigned, Reynolds carved a refreshing counter-narrative. He was the guy you'd invite to your birthday party without a second thought. Journalists gushed about him, labeling him the real-life Ted Lasso. Social media fans swooned over every heartfelt tweet. Even critics admired how he balanced comedic self-awareness with sincerity. Few celebrities, if any, managed to maintain such a squeaky clean image for so long. Yet, as we all know, the more pristine someone appears, the more dramatic the crash can be when trouble surfaces. No one saw the battle between Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni coming. She was the glamorous star, whose persona seemed every bit as bright as her name. And he was the respected actor-director, best known for Jane the Virgin and a string of heartfelt projects. When Baldoni secured the rights to adapt Colleen Hoover's best-selling novel, It Ends With Us, fans assumed the movie would become a surefire success. The tone of the book was a delicate mix of romance and intense domestic issues, and Baldoni was lauded for his empathetic storytelling. Then Lively came on board as the film's lead. At first, it looked like a match made in heaven, a beloved actress partnering with a director who prided himself on emotional depth. Behind the scenes, however, tension allegedly erupted almost immediately. Baldoni claimed that Lively began demanding script changes, creative control, and extra authority that had never been promised in her contract. What started as small disagreements soon escalated, but the real bomb dropped when Lively launched a legal attack, accusing Baldoni of inappropriate behavior and retaliation. Overnight, this poised director, who championed positivity, found himself painted as a villain in tabloids worldwide, and the story didn't end there. Baldoni insisted he was being set up by not just Lively, but her powerful husband, the same Ryan Reynolds who practically defined Hollywood decency. While the public initially assumed Ryan was simply standing by his wife, rumors soon ignited that he was the true instigator behind much of Baldoni's professional turmoil. According to Baldoni's legal filings, Reynolds' immense fame and industry clout had the power to make or break an up-and-comer's career. Baldoni claimed that Reynolds used this influence in clandestine ways, from quietly pressuring higher-ups to abandon Baldoni's projects to planting negative stories in the press. Fans were slow to believe such accusations. After all, Ryan was the altruistic hero of countless Instagram posts and charity events. Why would a man so seemingly genuine stoop to sabotage? Yet more evidence began leaking. Text messages, rumors of hush-hush meetings, and that infamous revelation that Reynolds had actually written critical segments of It Ends With Us, without Baldoni's knowledge. Soon, the unstoppable image of Ryan as a comedic savant with a heart of gold began morphing into something darker and more cunning. Hollywood insiders weren't entirely surprised, though. Some of them pointed out that behind every celebrity's grin is an entire PR machine, and if that machine is threatened, it will lash out. Perhaps, they whispered, Ryan always had a bit of a controlling streak. He'd just never been challenged on such a grand scale. One moment crystallized the suspicion swirling around Ryan Reynolds. In an interview with E! News, Blake Lively casually mentioned that the now iconic rooftop scene in the film, which she'd repeatedly claimed as her own creative vision, was actually written by her husband. She spoke with such casual confidence that watchers found themselves doing a double take. Wait, had she just confirmed Baldoni's biggest gripe? That unseen hands were shaping the film behind his back? That small admission proved explosive. For months, Lively had described the scene in interviews as a personal, creative triumph, the bit of cinematic magic that would elevate It Ends With Us above typical romance dramas. Baldoni, on the other hand, had been telling whoever would listen that he had no clue about Ryan's involvement. He was just as blindsided as the public. The moment Lively's words hit the airwaves, fans realized that the picture Baldoni painted might not just be a defensive fantasy. Maybe the meddling from Ryan was real. Almost immediately, social media lit up with outrage. Book lovers who adored It Ends With Us felt betrayed. They believed Lively had taken advantage of Baldoni's trust, representing foreign material as her own vision, while Ryan quietly shaped the script. And if that's how one pivotal scene got revised, how many more changes had been orchestrated by this apparently unstoppable duo? While the staged paparazzi fiasco captivated headlines, Justin Baldoni's life continued unraveling. The same accusations that painted him as an aggressor, thanks to Lively's lawsuit, resulted in significant professional setbacks. One of the biggest drops came from his agency, which cut ties with him. For a budding filmmaker who'd staked his reputation on thoughtful, empathetic storytelling, losing major representation was a crushing blow. All the while, Baldoni maintained that Ryan Reynolds had orchestrated many of these behind-the-scenes punishments. He presented texts that appeared friendly at first, messages showing how he accommodated Ryan's request to shift production schedules so that Reynolds and Lively wouldn't have to be apart. Baldoni confessed that he'd been starstruck, eager to impress the star he admired. But somewhere along the way, that camaraderie mutated into hostility. What truly stung, Baldoni later alleged, was that Ryan and Blake used his goodwill to seize control of the project he had shepherded from day one. He accused them of pressuring key decision-makers to side with them, ensuring that the script morphed to align with their vision. By the time the film premiered, Baldoni claims he barely recognized it, and worse yet, he had no final say in how it was edited and cut. Nevertheless, Baldoni didn't surrender. With the help of top-tier attorneys, he fought back, counter-suing for damages, and insisting he held on to vital receipts that would eventually clear his name. In that sense, every new revelation, from Blake's E! News slip to Ryan's flop of a PR stunt, gave him fresh ammo in court. As the Baldoni fiasco raged on, Ryan Reynolds appeared uncharacteristically off balance. His typical self-deprecating humor and philanthropic announcements no longer earned the unanimous applause they once did. Whenever he posted a witty tweet, the replies were filled with references to the drama. Some fans told him to cut the tea and address the lawsuit head-on. Others urged him to let the truth come out and apologize if the rumors were valid. Undeterred, Ryan tried to keep the focus on his typical brand activities, his alcohol company promotions, comedic cameos, and philanthropic gestures. Each time, though, the scandal overshadowed everything. A charity fundraiser? People retorted that it was just image rehab, a cameo in a friend's project. Viewers joked that maybe he was rewriting scenes there too. Hollywood watchers noted that Reynolds seemed caught in a vicious cycle. The more he tried to prove his authenticity, the more forced it felt. It became nearly impossible to separate his good deeds from the swirling accusations of cunning manipulation. The Deadpool star who had once won hearts with irreverent honesty was suddenly perceived as a man wearing a mask, terrified it might slip off entirely. At one point, a PR expert went on record stating that the meltdown surrounding Ryan's brand was inevitable, given the scale of accusations. With so much contradictory information leaking every week, the entire situation had become uncontainable. And if he was indeed guilty of the manipulations alleged by Baldoni, the best PR crisis plan in the world would not put this genie back into the bottle. In the end, Ryan Reynolds' meteoric rise and sudden fall reflect a timeless truth. In Hollywood, nobody is untouchable. A star can build a persona based on charm, charity, and humor for decades, yet see it collapse in a matter of weeks when serious allegations surface. What began as a spat between Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni mushroomed into an all-out war, dragging Reynolds into the crosshairs. Whether he was the mastermind Baldoni paints him to be, or just a misled husband standing up for his wife, the result is the same. The once impenetrable Ryan Reynolds brand now has a glaring crack. What is certain is that fans no longer see Ryan through the same rose-colored glasses. Critics question whether every sweet anecdote or philanthropic act is part of a larger chess move. Even longtime supporters who want to give him the benefit of the doubt admit this scandal is too big to ignore. The staged autograph session was the final straw for many, solidifying the view that Ryan might be more of a PR mastermind than the genuine soul he presented to the world. Justin Baldoni, for his part, continues to fight for his career, his reputation, and his peace of mind. He was once a fan of Ryan's comedic genius, yet their friendship turned into a surreal nightmare. If everything Baldoni alleges holds water, it suggests a level of industry coercion that feels ripped straight from a Hollywood thriller. With agencies dropping him, project delays piling up, and public skepticism wearing on him, the stakes couldn't be higher. Meanwhile, Blake Lively stands in the center of the storm, protected by her husband's unwavering loyalty and vast resources. She once dazzled on red carpets, exuding a sunny persona that charmed journalists and co-stars alike. Now, that sunshine has dimmed in the harsh glare of suspicious rewrites, hidden agendas, and questionable lawsuits. As for Reynolds, the question remains, will he ever regain the unconditional love once bestowed on him by fans and the media? Perhaps time heals all wounds, especially in an industry famous for short memories, but the seeds of distrust have been sown, and they may continue growing if more revelations emerge about underhanded tactics and puppet master scheming.